Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the number one MMA DFS prep show in all of the land.
Who are you?
I am your host, Monk, aka the Monkmatician.
Oh, I know you.
And in this very episode, guys and girls, we're going to be breaking down all 13 fights from UFC 294 from a DraftKings perspective. My hope is to bring you all the most pertinent DraftKings stats so you can assemble the best cash and GPP lineups possible for this pay-per-view event. So, guys, there are some bangers on this card. I mean, Makhachev, Volkanovski, we've got Khamzat and Usman. We've got Aliskerov coming back on Halloween weekend. Aliskerov, ooh. We've got Javid Basharat. We've got Dudakova. We've got the one-eyed Magomedov. There are a ton of fights. Maybe a super chalky week, but maybe there will be some surprises as well. So stick around, hit the like, hit the sub on this channel as well as we inch closer and closer to 600 subs. So please do that. It's free for you, and hit the bell if you never want to miss another Monk Maddox video. And that's going to do it, guys. Let's get right into the fights.
And away we go.
First fight of the night, we've got Shara Bullet Magomedov taking on Bruno Silva. I've got no stats for Shara Bullet. This is his very first UFC fight, but he does have 10 KO TKOs in his professional career. Probably more than that if you count the modified rules fights that are listed on Tapology. Not the best as you would assume, but not terrible either. Bruno Silva, some good stats, some not good stats. He's getting outpaced everywhere, at distance, inside the distance, and overall, averaging almost 100 points per win. 3 of his 4 UFC wins have scored him over 100 points, only 18% takedown accuracy, okay takedown defense, controls less than 24% of all grappling time he's involved in. He's $500 cheaper than his average salary. Tons of round 1 finish wins and losses. By tons, I guess I mean 3 wins and 1 loss, so at least half of his fights finish in the first round. We love to target that for DraftKings. Huge power and chin decks, meaning he can put people down and he gets put down, and his strength of schedule is almost 10 points better than Shara Magomedov here. Bruno Silva, only 2-3 in his last 5 fights, losing to Alan Mearshart and Pajeda, beating only Jordan Wright and Brad Tavares, both by knockout in the very first round. Shara has a clear path to victory here. I think this is a great fight to target. It is very high variance, so we don't really know what's going to happen, but I have a feeling someone is going to sleep.
Ping, pow, zoom, zoom.
So give me a bunch of this fight for GPPs. Probably not touching this one in cash, though. Maybe a little Magomedov, but it's very unclear what is going to happen here. So I assume Silva probably gets finished, but honestly, we have no idea. We got to see what this Magomedov guy can do. Definitely don't mind this fight for GPPs, though. Let's keep it moving. Here we've got Victoria Dudakova.
I'm pretty sure it's stick cut too.
They got 2.
Second UFC fight, taking on everyone's favorite DraftKings player, Jinh Yu Frey. I'll keep this one short. There are no good stats for Jinh Yu Frey. She scores terribly, under 70 points per win, guys, and that's if she can ever find a win. 2-5 in the UFC. She's under her average salary, as you would expect. Average ownership just 10% for a good reason. And even though she has 7 UFC fights, her strength of schedule is lower than Dudakova's at 63.12. I mean, she's dropped 3 in a row. Elise Reed, Polyana Viana, and Vanessa Demopoulos. Her only 2 wins in her last 5 is Ashley Yoder and Gloria DePaula. Meanwhile, Dudakova, we don't know much about her. As far as stats go, you got to kind of throw these out. She had a 30-second fight with Estela Nunes, in which Nunes dislocated her elbow, if you remember. So we really didn't get to see much from Dudakova, but she has a good grappling game, it seems like, and she did put up 121 points for what it's worth in that 30-second finish. I'm picking Dudakova here. 9,200 I think is a decent price. I think there's a possibility she scores well. Don't mind her for cash. Not playing Frey at all, and usually when I say I'm not playing fighters or I'm fading fighters, I really mean I'm playing 5 to 10%. I guess I can't dig myself into a hole here. I'll play 5 to 10% of Frey, I guess, in GPPs, but that is literally just to be contrarian. I do not expect her to win. I expect Dudakova to either win by decision or get a submission finish here. Again, don't mind her for cash. Probably not playing a ton of this in GPPs outside of Dudakova, a little bit, but there's some 9K fighters I think I like a little bit better. But the pick is Dudakova, and I don't mind her for some GPP cash options. Frey, very, very, very low owned. Even if you went 10%, you'd probably be over the field. Here we've got Nathaniel Wood, 9K, taking on Muhammad Naimov, 7,200. Some very, very poor stats for Muhammad Naimov. He did fight for almost 8 minutes against Jamie Mullarkey before he landed that shot that put Mullarkey down. But before that shot, he was getting just beaten up all over the place. I mean, at distance, he is outpacing his opponents, but overall and inside the distance, very much to be desired. 0% takedown accuracy, did not score 100 points in that Mullarkey fight. Did put up a huge value in that fight, 14.1x, but he was only $6,500 and he was only 5% owned in that fight. So now he's 7,200, a bit more expensive, and we're gonna see if he can land that one shot against Nathaniel Wood.
Anything you want to him. Shit. Throw him off a building, right? Light him on fire. Hit him with a fucking Lincoln, right?
Wood's got some great stats, 54% takedown accuracy, overall outpacing his opponents everywhere. Does not score as many points as we would need him to at 9K, averaging just 96.31. He did put up 108 against Jourdain, but that's the only time in his last 4 wins that he's even come close to triple digits. Average salary is 8,800, so we are paying a bit over, and we don't even get 11x value. No first round finish wins or losses for Wood. Does some knocking down, gets knocked down, throw some subs up there as well, has a decent strength of schedule, controls 67% of all grappling time he's involved in. I like Nathaniel Wood to win this fight. I hate his nickname, the Prospect. I mean, bro, how many UFC fights are you going to have before you decide that you're not the Prospect anymore? But that's another show, Nickname Show, Thursdays, 9 p.m. Check it out.
I didn't ask for the whole story.
But Muhammadjan Naimov only needs to land that one shot, so I will be playing a bit of him in GPPs. No cash here. I guess I don't mind Wood for cash, but again, I think there's better options in his salary range. In fact, you could save $100 and go put Khamzat Chimaev in your lineup, who I think averages a few more than 96 points per win. We'll have to get to that, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so give me Nathaniel Wood for the pick, but I will be playing some of Naimov in GPPs just in case he lands that one shot that puts Wood down. Money Mike Breeden back in action after getting demolished by McKinney a few months ago. 6,900 for Money Mike, 9,300 for his opponent, Anshul Jubli. Jubli, the king of lions, has some great stats for only having one fight in the UFC. Fought for almost 9 minutes and got a KO TKO finish in that one. Over 5 points a minute, allowing less than 1. At distance, not so good, but inside the distance is where he did all of his scoring and allowed no points back at him. Controlled almost 98% of the grappling time, 40% takedown accuracy in that fight, did score over 100 points, and he is 1,100 over his previous salary, so a little bit yikes, but he is fighting Money Mike Breeden. 14 value is what Jubli put up in that fight, and he does have a surprisingly good strength of schedule at 70.72. Meanwhile, you can see all of the red numbers here for Money Mike, getting outpaced everywhere, inside the distance, at distance. No UFC wins. He is 0-3 so far in the UFC, going for that Daniel Lacerda record, 0-4.
That's combat.
60% takedown accuracy, only 55% takedown defense, and he allows 7.61 takedowns per 15 minutes. My God. Now you're going against a guy who has 5 points a minute inside the distance. Fantastic. We are somehow under Breeden's average salary of 7K, just barely. Has a poor strength of schedule at 66. A lot of red numbers here for Breeden. I am picking Jubli, but again, this is an extremely low-level, high-variance fight. We don't know a ton about Jubli. He fought on the road to the UFC. Then he fought his one UFC fight against Jeka Saregi, so we really don't know much about Jubli here. Breeden, 3 L's, like I said, McKinney, Natan Levy, and Alexander Hernandez. 2 of them he was finished by KO TKO in under 2 minutes. So yeah, we're hoping for a Jubli quick win. Otherwise, the longer it goes, the more I think Breeden has a little bit of a chance to get a decision. So I don't mind a little bit of Breeden. He will be very contrarian, I believe, at 6,900 this week, especially being 0-3, so you could easily get over the field if you wanted to fade Jubli a little bit, but I wouldn't fade him too much because, as I said, Breeden 0-3 and has been finished in 2 of those 3 fights. So got to play a little bit of both sides, I think. I'm picking Jubli. I'll probably have more of him rostered, but I'm definitely not sleeping on Breeden because if this gets out of the first round, first 7.5 minutes, I think Breeden could hold on and use a little bit of his fundamentals to get to the decision, and then who knows what's going to happen with the judges. So yeah, pick is Jubli. Don't mind it for GPPs. Don't mind a little bit of Breeden as well, and I probably will not be playing this one in cash, hardly at all. Cedricus Dumas, 8,400, taking on the bagman Abu Azaitar. Look at, I mean, there are literally 2 green numbers on this entire screen. This fight probably sucked. I'm picking Dumas because I just think the age difference here is gigantic, and Azaitar has not looked great. Marc-Andre Barrio, he was getting some work done in that fight, but then he just completely gassed out in the third.
What the fuck happened?
And if that happens again, we already saw what Dumas, could do in the third. He just holds on to some takedowns, holds on to that ground time against Cody Brundage, and he got it done there. Both these guys are getting outpaced everywhere. Every single category, they're getting outpaced. Azaitar, 82 points per win. Dumas, 78 points per win, so I'm not really looking forward to any of that. The one good number for Dumas, 64% grappling time controlled, but you're paying over his previous salary of 81.50 here, and both guys' strength of schedule leave a lot to be desired, especially Abu Azaitar at 61.4. So you're technically getting Azaitar 200 cheaper than his previous salary. 40% takedown defense. Dumas with this 33% take. I have no idea, guys. I have no idea. I'm picking Dumas, not confident at all. Basically, it's the age difference and the time off for Azaitar. He has not fought since March of... That can't be right. Is that right? March of 2021? Well, unless my stats are wrong, he hasn't fought in 2.5 years, which, wow, that's... I swear I've broken down one of his fights since then. I don't know. I might be stupid.
That's a big fucking lie.
But either way, don't like this fight for cash, not taking any part of it in cash. It is a 100% GPP fight, and I don't mean play it at 100%. I mean, that's the only tournaments we're playing it in. So give me Dumas for the pick. I am not confident at all. Hopefully it's just a good fight. As Weezy said, it's fun to support an overall good guy like Cedricus Dumas. Half of the Bash brothers, Javid Basharat, the Snow Leopard, taking on the Mongoose, Victor Henry. We've got some okay numbers here from Basharat as far as pacing goes, but his DraftKings overall scoring leaves a lot to be desired, averaging just 82 points per win. Did put up 98.5 against Mendonce, 82 against Gravely, and 65 against Jones. So like I said, we are looking for a little bit more salary, or a little bit more value with a salary of 9,500. His average value per win on all those 3 wins is under 10. In fact, it's under 9.5 at 9.33. Good strength of schedule, 85% takedown defense, great takedown accuracy, good striking, controls 67% of all grappling time he's involved in. I love watching this guy fight, but I do not want to play him for DraftKings at 9,400. This is going to be a cash play. GPP is just going to be a little bit too much. I'm going to have to see it from Javid. We need a triple-digit score minimum before I can roster him at $9,400. Cash, I guess I don't mind, but I think there's a few better options that score well right around that area. So I think I'm going to be lower on Basharat than most people are. Meanwhile, Victor Henry, I think we have a decent punt play option here at 6,800. If this goes to decision, I think Henry's got a good chance at an okay floor here. His pacing is decent. He's 2-1 in his last 3 fights in the UFC, only losing to Rafael Assunção. I mean, he came in and beat Raoni Barcelos surprisingly at an almost at a plus 400 favorite. He is 1,400 under his average salary, average value per win, again, over 14, well over 14, 79% takedown defense, and he has had 29 takedowns shot against him, so a decent number there. 72 strength of schedule, very close to Basharat here. I like Basharat for the win. Like I said, I am not picking Victor Henry outright, but for DraftKings, I do not mind him as a punt play, 6,800. You play somebody like Henry, who maybe this goes all 3 rounds, and he gets a 30-40 point score in a loss. That could be okay at 6,800, because that enables you to get guys in the 9K and upper 8K range as well. So we'll be sacrificing a little bit by playing some Henry, but I like Basharat to win. Don't mind Henry at all for a punt play, as I've said, and we will keep it moving. Mr. Hammerfist, Trevor Peak, taking on not Hani Yahya, but Muhammad Yahya, 8,200, 8K. This is the closest line fight on the entire DraftKings slate. We have no stats for Muhammad Yahya.
Amateurs usually don't make it.
Since obviously this is his first UFC fight, does have a terrible strength of schedule in his last 5, 61.06. It's that bad, but Trevor Peaks is even worse at 60.76. but we do have a couple of UFC fights worth of stats to look at. His one win over 100 points, has a terrible takedown defense of 56%, allowing 6 takedowns per 15 minutes, controls less than 18% of the grappling time he's involved in. He is 350 under his average salary, which is good, and another guy with an average value of 14.7, huge power index. At distance, he does good work, but inside the distance, he is getting outpaced monumentally. 2 points a minute, allowing 7.5. Did score 130, almost 131 in his UFC win, and he allowed 108 in his UFC loss. So long story short, this is definitely a fight I would like to target here. This should be a shit show. I'm picking Trevor Peek, but we don't know anything about Yahya, and Trevor Peek, not the most well-rounded fighter. We'll just say that overall. So everyone's going to be rooting for him, which I understand. He is extremely exciting to watch and makes for very, very good fights. And I'm going to be picking him to win here at 8,200. I will be rostering this fight for GPPs. Peek, I don't know if I can get to him in cash, maybe a little bit, but I am not the most confident. But for GPPs, I think both sides are pretty good to target here. You get in on Yahya. If he gets a win over Peek, you are going to be well over the field there and looking pretty good at 8K. But Peek is only 8,200 and he could put up a phenomenal score, so you do not want to miss out on that either. So give me Peek, and this is definitely a GPP fight for me. The Punisher, Muhammad Mokaev, 9,600, most expensive fighter on the card, taking on Tim Elliott. We have got some fantastic stats across the board for both fighters here. Love this fight for GPPs. Maybe Mokaev and Cat, he's just a little too expensive to get to a ton of him this week, and I think that's okay because Tim Elliott is not an easy out. He has been subbed, yes, 4 times in the UFC, and that's kind of what Muhammad Mokaev does, as he has 3 subs in his 4 UFC fights. But Elliott has some great numbers here. I mean, his takedown defense leaves a little to be desired at just 60%, but he does control almost 60% of the grappling time, scores very, very well when he wins, 116.5 per win, outpacing his opponents inside the distance, at distance, and overall. I mean, a 47% takedown accuracy in which he lands almost 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. 63% of his UFC wins have been over 100 points. I think that's 5 of them. He's well under his average salary of 80.25, another average value guy over 14, a couple of round 1 finished losses. I mean, some great numbers here from Tim Elliott. At 6,600, maybe they're not great numbers, but at 6,600, I think they are extremely valuable, and they do have a place in your roster. I think Elliott is a great punt play at the cheapest price on the entire card. I think he's a good punt for cash. I don't even mind him in GPPs, to be honest. All that said, do I think he's going to win? No, I think Muhammad Mokaev is going to get this done. His numbers are wild. I don't have to read them all. You can see. We talked about Tim Elliott's takedown accuracy. Muhammad Mokaev is at 54%, 7.34 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he controls 88% of all grappling time he's involved in.
Who puts who on the ground first?
Somehow he's more expensive than his average salary of $94.75, but he has made the optimal lineup, I think, 3 out of his 4 fights. That is correct, and he does have a decent power index as well. Top it off with a good strength of schedule in his last 5, 72.2. I love Muhammad Mokaev here. I'm a little concerned about the knee injury, but it seems like he is back on it. He's a young guy. I'm sure his recovery went very well, so I'm picking Mokaev to win, probably inside the distance. But that said, he's 9,600, extremely expensive. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get to of him. And Tim Elliott is sitting here, the cheapest fighter on the card, with some DraftKings upside, especially the longer this fight goes. He scores very well, almost 4.5 points a minute. So unless Muhammad Mokaev can just lay on him the whole entire time, I think Elliott has a decent path to score some okay points here. So I don't mind him as a punt play, and I like Muhammad Mokaev for GPPs and cash, just not sure how much I can get to him at his extremely high salary of 9,600. Saeed Nurmagomedov, with the name so long it wouldn't even fit on my screen, taking on M.O.N.K Gafurov here. Gafurov, not a good showing against John Castaneda here in his UFC debut. He got beat by unanimous decision and did not do much as far as volume. I mean, you see all the red numbers here. He's getting outpaced everywhere. Went 0 for 6 on his takedowns. Only a 50% takedown accuracy. Controlled just 31% of the grappling time. He is $400 cheaper, thank goodness, but I mean, the Chindex leaves a lot to be desired, as he did get knocked down there. The only good number that I like is the 70 strength of schedule, which is pretty good. Said Nurmagomedov, I'm picking him to win this fight, guys. I mean, he doesn't do much as far as pacing goes. He is only averaging 92 points per win, so he might be a bit too expensive this week at 8,800, but 3 of his 6 wins have netted him triple digits. Takedown defense is okay at 65%, and he is coming in right around his average salary of 87.75. The value per win is not something I like, 10.67. We want to see that at least 12. He does have 3 round 1 finish wins. Whoa. Which really is the stat that I like a lot. His power index is good, tons of subs thrown up, and one of the best strength of schedules on the entire card, it turns out, over his last 5, according to record. So I like the numbers from Said. I just don't know if he's going to score well enough to pay off that 8,800 against M.O.N.K Gafurov, so I'm probably fading this fight a little bit. I'm still picking Said though, and those 3 round 1 finishes really do go a long way to making me put more of him in my rosters for GPPs, so I will look to do that. I'm just not impressed with Gafurov. Obviously, I'm going to have a little bit of him in large field tournaments, but I think the pick for cash, if you have to play cash on this fight, is going to be Nurmagomedov. But I don't mind either side a little bit for GPPs, but I'm thinking overall fade, as I just don't know if this one's going to score well. If it does, I think Said gets an early finish. You'll want to have some of him, like I said, in GPPs, but I wouldn't be going crazy here. Should be a good fight on the main card, but not my favorite one for DraftKings. The spookiest fighter on the card, Aliskerov, taking on Warlley Alves. I'm not going to stop doing that at all this week. I have 2 more shows. You're going to hear it on both of them for sure, because I'm a dad, and that's what I do.
No shit.
9,500 for Aliskerov, 67 for Alves. We don't have a ton to go on for Aliskerov. He had a 2-minute fight against Phil Hawes in which he brutally knocked him out, absolutely put him to sleep here. So we kind of have to throw Aliskerov's numbers out, but they are good. The only issue is he has no ground numbers at all. No takedown attempts, no takedown defenses, no grappling time at all. So we don't really know where he is on that. So we're going to have to find out against Warlley Alves most likely. 9,100 is what Aliskerov came in his last fight, so he's $400 more expensive there. Did get that first round finish, like I said. Strength of schedule leaves a little to be desired at 67.21. Warlley Alves, not the best numbers overall as far as pacing goes, but he has a 50% takedown accuracy and 80% takedown defense, controls majority of the grappling time he's involved in, is $1,500 cheaper than his average salary, has a 12x average value, does have 2 round 1 finishes, and a decent power and sub index as well, and a very good strength of schedule. So long story short, 6,700 is not a salary you can just count out this week, although I do think Aliskerov hopefully runs through Alves, because that would be very good for my lineups. I like Aliskerov at 9,500. I like him for GPPs. I don't even mind him for cash, but Warlley Alves does have a ton of UFC experience. Yes, he's only 2-3 in his last 5, dropping fights to Dalby, Jeremiah Wells, and Randy Brown, but he has one hell of a guillotine and he can take you down, so he should not just be thrown out even if he is at the cursed salary of 6,700. I will be playing a little bit of him in cash and in GPPs, but Aliskerov, I'm hoping he gets it done here. Round 1, early round 2, and really pays off that salary. Man, wouldn't it be great, actually, if we could get like some sort of Muhammad Muradov against Brian Barberena type performance here, where Aliskerov just dominates him for 3 straight rounds if we're not going to get a finish. So that would be nice to see. It would really help my cash lineups for sure, because I do like Aliskerov this week. 9,500, I like it. 6,700, again, not throwing that salary out, and I will have some of Alves in GPPs and a little bit in cash. Magomed Ankalaev, $9,100, taking on Johnny Walker at 7,100. Light heavyweight bout. We assume the winner is going to be even closer to a title than they were before. Ankalaev definitely has the pacing edge. I mean, he's a great fighter, man. Does not lose hardly at all, but he is not exciting and not a good play for DraftKings whatsoever. Averaging only 94 points per win. He does control a ton of the grappling time. Great takedown defense. Decent takedown accuracy. Average value per win is only 10. He is coming in 220 under his average salary. Does have 3 round 1 finish wins. As you know, Johnny Walker, one of the worst chins on the entire card.
Ping, pow.
Ankalaev does have some power here, 73 strength of schedule. I like Ankalaev to get the win. I just don't know how he's going to score, guys. Anthony Smith, he put up 96, 80 against Santos, 76 against Uzdemir, and 82 against Nikita Krylov. Can we be playing him in GPP lineups at 9,100? I just don't know. Then we have Johnny Walker on the other side getting outpaced basically everywhere, but he does score 108 points per win, which is much higher than Ankalaev. 86% of his UFC wins, which is 6 of 7, have netted him over 100 points. Has a not great takedown defense of 53%. Does not control much of the grappling time. Coming in 720 under his average salary with a very good average value and a ton of round 1 finish wins and losses, guys. 6 of 7 of his UFC wins have been in the very first round, and 2 of his 4 losses have also come in the very first round. Hell of a power index, hell of a bad chindex. Throws up subs and has a decent strength of schedule as well. I love this fight. I am picking Ankalaev. It's going to be a chalky week, unfortunately, but Johnny Walker's numbers are such that you definitely cannot leave him out of GPPs. I won't have much of him in cash, most likely, but for GPPs, I think 7,100 Johnny Walker, he has a chance. He has a chance at getting a big number in a win, and that's why we are going to be playing him this week at a very cheap salary of 7,100. So while I don't necessarily think he's going to get the win, I think there is some tremendous DraftKings value if he does get the win as far as GPP tournaments go. So give me Ankalaev for cash, although I will be looking for higher scoring options, but give me Johnny Walker in GPPs. Khamzat Chimaev, he's back, $8,900. I mean, how sweet does that sound? $8,900 for Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, every number is green. Every number is fantastic. I don't know if I've ever had this with a fighter before.
We are in fucking Hollywood, man.
His pacing, ridiculous. Score per win, ridiculous. Controls almost 100% of the grappling time. What? 100% takedown defense, 4 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. All 6 of his wins have got him over 100 points. He's $600 cheaper than his average salary. 12 value per win. I mean, 4 of 6 round 1 finishes, power index, sub index, strength of schedule, everything is completely on point. I mean, it's Khamzat Chimaev. What do you want me to say? Whoa. Kamaru Usman, full of great numbers as well. The pacing, the DraftKings points per win, his ceiling is 151 points with almost a 100-point floor, guys. A 100-point floor. I know those are probably mostly 5-round fight numbers, but still, that is tremendous. Let's see. 87% of his 15 UFC wins, he scored over 100 points. 46% takedown accuracy, 97% takedown defense, and he also controls in the 90s of grappling. 94% of all grappling time he's involved in. $1,400 cheaper than his average. Another value per win guy of over 13. I mean, power index is there. His strength of schedule is there. This is a great fight on paper. Obviously, I'm picking Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, Usman's older now.
Now he's into his late 30s and takes a bad fall and messes up his hip.
I don't know if he's got that fire still, and supposedly his knees are completely ruined, and maybe he did not say that one of them popped yesterday. So give me Khamzat Chimaev for sure. I want to see this go or finish inside the distance, but I think if it goes all 3, the winner's going to score very well. So I don't mind Usman a little bit if you need a little punt play at 7,300, but I mean, I'm like 75-80% on Khamzat Chimaev here. I love him in this fight. GPPs, cash, I don't care. It's Khamzat for me. I'll work a little bit of Usman into my lineups, but I'm not going to be actively trying to get him in as many as possible. So give me Khamzat for the pick, give me Khamzat for DraftKings, and let's go on to the main event. Main event for UFC 294. Before we get into the numbers, hit the like on this video, hit the sub on this channel, and hit the bell if you want to never miss another Monkmatics video. We've got a banger here, the rematch between Islam Makhachev and Alexander the Great Volkanovski.
See, honey, I told you they'd come to parlay.
8,700 for Islam Makhachev, guys. Can you believe it? Look at all these green numbers. Not a bad number in the bunch. Maybe the average value of being under 11 is not great, but man, I mean, what do I have to tell you here? Islam's ground game is top notch. 100 points per win. Controls 84% of the grappling time he's involved in. 91% takedown defense. 3.24 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. 69% of his 13 UFC wins have scored him over 100 points, and he's $600 cheaper than his average salary. Exactly like Khamzat. Very interesting interesting. 31% of his 13 UFC wins have finished in the very first round. Very good power index, sub index. He also has been knocked down and had subs thrown against him, so we love to see that for GPP tournaments. 75 strength of schedule. Meanwhile, Volkanovski, the only red number on here is that he's never lost a fight or won a fight in the very first round. Everything else is phenomenal. 6 points a minute inside the distance, scoring 11 points more than Makhachev on average per win. Huge ceiling at 129 points. 77% of his 13 UFC wins over 100 points. 80% all grappling time he controls. He is $1,100 cheaper than his average salary. Huge value per win and one of the best strength of schedules on the entire card at 78.48. This is going to be a banger. I cannot wait. I'm a huge Volk fan. I like Makhachev a ton. I like most of those Dagestani guys. My pick is Islam Makhachev, and I don't think it's going to be as close as it was the first time. This is a 12-day short notice fight from Volkanovski. As much as I would love to see him win, I am not planning for that to happen. So this is going to be a huge fight for GPPs, probably for cash. Last time they fought, Volkanovski scored 62 points and landed himself on the optimal lineup, even though he lost. So he is the only fighter that has 5 UFC fights since 2021 that has made the optimal lineup all 5 times. 100% optimal, not something you can pass up. So I'm playing both sides of this fight a ton. Cash, GPPs, a ton. The only real question is, can we stack this event, this main event? I don't know. Last time we did, Volkanovski scored 62, while Makhachev scored only 94. So Makhachev did not make the optimal lineup, but he was 9,500 that time, guys. He is $800 cheaper against the same opponent who took the fight on short notice, and we're getting $800 of savings. So that just means I'm going to be playing Makhachev more just based on that. But I will have a bit of Volkanovski. Love this fight. Love that it's the main event for UFC 294, and I am extremely excited about this one. Just play this fight. I like Makhachev, but play the fight as a whole. Guys, that's gonna do it. Before we get out of here, let's throw it over to Monk to see who CM Monk picks for UFC 294.
Here I come. Here I come.
Thank you, Monk. And here we are with CM Monk's picks for UFC 294. CM Monk is the thing that I built that picks fights based on stats. That's what it is. Let me move myself over and out of the way there for you guys. Last week, 6 of 11, both me and CM Monk both went 6 of 11. I still have 2 fights over him year to date, and we are both well over 60%. He's 60.8, and I am 61.27. There we go. Here are CM Monk's picks for UFC 294. Very chalky, as you would expect. Bruno Silva by finish. That's just because we don't have stats for Magomedov. Victoria Dudakova decision. Nathaniel Wood finish. Anshul Jubli finish. Cedricus Dumas finish. Javid Basharat decision. Trevor Peak finish. Muhammad Mokaev decision. Said Nurmagomedov decision. Ikram Aliskerov by finish. Magomed Ankalaev by finish. Khamzat Chimaev by finish. And Alex Volkanovski by finish. Wow, CM Monk picking 2 dogs, and they are big ones. Me personally, I'm thinking this is an all chalk card, guys. I think it's one of those all chalk cards. I'll probably be surprised when it's not, but I'm having a hard time finding dogs this week, and apparently so is CM Monk. So there you have it. Before we get out of here, guys, let's throw it over to Monk and find out who the most owned no nonsense pick of the week, Monk pick of the week, is for UFC 294. The most owned no nonsense Monk pick of the week for UFC 294. Let me move my head again. Of course, it's going to be Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev at $8,900. Are you kidding me? We're never going to see this guy this cheap again until maybe he fights somebody for the title, and it depends on who that person is, and I guess we'll maybe see him cheaper than that, but he is $600 under his average salary, guys, and he has one of the highest DraftKings upside on the entire card. His scoring is through the roof. All 6 of his wins over 100 points. Just go back and watch the little section I just did on this fight, Khamzat and Usman. Every single one of Khamzat's numbers are green and fantastic, and now we're getting him at the cheapest price we've ever gotten him. So yeah, give me Khamzat Chimaev against a guy in Usman who's taking the fight on short notice in Abu Dhabi on 2 bad knees that may or may not have been popping during open freaking workouts. So yeah, give me Khamzat Chimaev here. I think he wins. I think he wins big, and I think he's going to pay off that $8,900 salary with a gigantic score. Guys, that is going to do it. Let's get you on out of here. Thank you so much for joining me. Game Theory UFC 294. Glad we could get that done this week. Man, I had to take a couple weeks off. Last week I was on vacation. Before that, I was just feeling burnt out after that 17 weeks, guys, but I am here now to finish off the year strong, and UFC 294 is just the beginning. So yeah, this one is a great card. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I gave you all the most pertinent DraftKings stats to help you build those GPP and cash lineups, and that's going to do it, guys. Check out the Nickname Show Thursday at 9 p.m. Check out Monk and Lou's Happy Hour on the MMA Engine at 11 p.m. Central, 12 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday morning. And or Friday morning, sorry. That is going to do it, guys. As usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fight. So, enjoy. And we will see you in the next one.
I love this stuff. Only come here if you like that stuff.